Hello guys and welcome back to another video of ours, right? Let's talk then about the sleep in animals and the sleep of animals, right? Because actually what we are going to discuss right now, right here, is indeed the understanding of how much they sleep, how well they sleep. Some animals don't even need REM, don't even need to go into deep sleep. For some of them it's like a sport. They can sleep very low and still survive, do not have any major dysfunction. But certainly one characteristic that is in common between animals and men is their need of sleep. Now, there are some animals that would absolutely die, right, without sleeping. And in particular, if you think about rats, right, uh, they are one of those animals, right? They can lose weight in an impressive way, I would say, also. But the consequences of sleep deprivation can lead to hypothermia and even death. But there are other animals, right, that sleep in very funny slash interesting ways. For instance, giraffes. They do sleep in blocks of 5 minutes for 30 minutes a day in the savannah because, of course, they are surrounded by predators, so they always have to be alerted. They sleep most of the times standing up, but sometimes they assume this kind of like very nice, very cute position where their neck is completely like torted and twisted, and I have no clue how they could sleep well like that, but that is, guys, the REM of a giraffe. In other environments, they can also sleep up until 4 hours. But giraffes are not our only animal here, right? Let's talk about sperm whales, right? They're very known for ambergris, the substance that they produce as a form of vomit in their own stomach when they ingest things like giant squids. They can enter in the REM phase, right? So they can actually have deep sleep, and that is like some sort of news compared to the rest of the other fishes. But they're very interesting. It has been observed that they sleep in herds, so it's like they sleep all together, and not even like huge noises can actually perturb, can actually disturb their sleep, which is amazing. Now, the mere fact that those sperm whales are actually sleeping is amazing because I was saying that many fishes do not really sleep or do not enter the REM phase. In particular, fishes, and many of them are very well known for having unihemispheric kind of sleep, which is fascinating because that means that one hemisphere actually sleeps, whereas the other one remains alert in case of danger. Now, sea lions have been proved to be the only animal that can only have unihemispheric sleep. It does not require REM sleep, which is again fascinating because that also means that they can go months and months sleep deprived, carrying on with their activities without needing to rest and without having a sleep debt, so to speak, right? So they don't need to recover or restore from their deprivation, which I found extremely useful. If we can only do that, but we cannot, so we're gonna stick to our rules. And we're gonna move on, right? By saying that it's extremely important to understand all the mechanisms of sleep and how animals sleep is of great help and can give us a huge insight. Now, there is a research that has been carried out by UCLA, right, where they have tried to understand the sleep in sea lions, especially because sea lions can go without sleeping for something like 10 months, which is an impressive number of months, right? And that suggests that the function that what sleep is useful for in sea lions might have a very different role from the role of sleep in human beings. And if you are interested, guys, there's a beautiful book written by Matthew Walker that explains all the reasons why we need to sleep and also why we need to sleep a certain amount of hours, right? Yet we don't know exactly why we sleep and why we need to sleep a certain amount, but we do know what would be the consequences of us not sleeping and not sleeping properly. Yet this is not the point, so let's move on with another animal. So now we're going to talk about the sleep of another animal, that of ducks. And ducks are extremely cute. They do sleep in a line. At their extremities, you will find two ducks. One, both of them, they do sleep with one eye open and one closed, right? And I do that so that those that are more alerted, more awake, will alert and will wake the other ones up, in case of danger, which is, very typical for humans as well, to keep one eye open when you sleep because, you are so scared or afraid. Let's now then talk about the walrus. And this is a very cute animal. I personally call my sister a walrus, and I discovered by recording this video that I was not wrong. Walruses can sleep for hours and hours on end, up until 19 hours, with their belly up or in any other position, more or less like my sister sleeps. And anyway, they can sleep like that, like you see in the image, but they can also sleep underwater, and they can hold their breath for like 4-5 minutes, so not bad. Another animal that sleeps an incredible amount of hours, between 19 and 20, is bat. Bats sleep with their head downwards because the wings are not structured enough for them to fly just like if they were standing in a erected position. And anyway, they sleep that amount of hours, so one of the most sleepy head animals on earth. Another animal way more cute than bats is koalas. They are very cute, undoubtedly so. Anyway, they do sleep also something like 19 hours, and then they stay up like 4 hours to search for eucalyptus leaves because they eat about like 500 grams of those. And they do that at night. So somehow nature programs them to sleep very much during the day. Also, with that type of diet, I don't know how much energy they will have anyway. But again, this is the amount of time they do sleep. And that also protects them from predators of different kind. And so it is very important that they, sleep this much. Another animal that is particularly interesting is that of the otters, right? Now they do group together and they do attach one to the other or one to algae so that they can now be carried away by currents in the sea, right? And so you see here in the images, right, they sleep this way, so it's very cute, and also they make good usage of the motto that union is what makes strong, right? And so they attach themselves to whatever they have there, and so they can kind of like sleep calmly and in peace. And so let's discuss about the behavior of another animal, that of the frog. Now, frogs have two types of hibernations, so to speak, right? One that is proper hibernation, the other one that is estivation, known as such at least, right? And one happens in winter, the other one in summer. They create this sheet that covers them completely. They are only able to leave out the mouth, basically to breathe, and they shed layers of skin, right? And that is when they sleep the most. So we do know that when there's a hibernation involved, the animals sleep for longer periods of time. Very important to know is that during hibernation, frogs produce glucose, right? And that prevents them from actually really freezing. Let's then finally come to my favorite animal, or one of them, that is elephants, right? Now, in the Chabi National Park, scientists have put on elephants a bracelet that monitors all like the biological activities of elephants, and they have discovered that in this park they could sleep only 2 hours, walk for like 46 kilometers a day, and they didn't need much of a rest. Now, somewhat this is typical of animals that are huge. On the other hand, they kind of like trying to understand why that was happening. Observing how little they actually sleep led scientists at the Chubby National Park in South Africa to a conclusion, that is, that there are certain hormones that elephants produce that can help them repair, and they can help them, reestablish their strength, basically, after very little stress, even though they endure during the day a lot. And they spend quite a lot of energies just by walking, feeding, playing, etc. Therefore, they must have some adrenalinic type of inner resource that allows them to actually recover pretty quickly. But now we go from elephants to birds, and we discover something important, something very cool about birds. When they fly high, they actually are in a sort of REM sleep, which is a weird REM because it's uni-hemispheric, right? So, like sharks, they swim and they sleep. Also, birds at a very high altitude, they can actually sleep and fly. And the way we recognize that they sleep is because we see them dropping their beak forward, right? Which is a very cool thing, right? They don't lose their orientation. So they're just with the beak forward, and they're able to follow the group of other birds trying to fly along with them. And then when they go down, that actually is actually the moment where they are more awake, when they are more active, and then where they can be very quick to respond, so they are fully awake. But at a very high altitude, they are just in a sort of REM sleep, which is very cool because they can fly and sleep. But before leaving you, let's talk about another curiosity, a last one, I promise. The last animal I want to discuss here is midges. Yes, Drosophila. And midges are very interesting because they have a lifespan of about 40, 50 days, right? And at my university, basically, because my university was UCL, and in particular at the Imperial College London, what they have determined is the following. They have picked something like 881 midges, 43% of them males, so around 485 were males. And I have seen that basically none of them slept for very long. They all slept for like 4 or 5 minutes, which is a relatively, decent amount of time considering the lifespan. But then what happened was there was one without sleep, right? So they retried the experiment, but this time around, they put into the box, cage, whatever, they put like some lights, some disturbing lights, so that none of them could sleep. And they actually survived, did not accumulate any sleep, and so that means that they must have some sort of uni hemispheric type of sleep, so they don't go sleep deprived, which is very interesting again because it means that somehow certain brains, certain animals' brains, can live even without sleeping at all. Can you imagine that? We are also aware that certain animals, specifically the ones that are medium sized or huge, like elephants or guepards, lions, so on and so forth, they actually snore, right? So they do emit um, this kind of sound from their palate, from vibrating their palate, which is interesting. But I want to tell me, and I want to know desperately also, what you think. What is the animal's behavior that you find more interesting? What you think of sleep? Is that possible for us to avoid sleeping at all? One of my favorite behaviors on Earth is that of an octopus, because octopus, when they do sleep, they actually change color. So you could see a very instantaneous, very rapid movement and color change that is possible to see with naked eyes. That is interpreted as the octopus that starts sleeping and therefore changes color, which is absolutely amazing.